Great, thank you, Emily. Thank you, Gary. That's a great intro. My title is Talking to Our Buildings, but also our buildings talking to us. And this evolution of the conversation between us and the built environment is really forming what we do and how we do it. It's a massive title, as Gary said. The scope is huge, and the people in this room cover loads and loads of those aspects, with digital transformation and real estate, the commercial sector in particular. But I'll talk about lots of things that Arup have done. If you don't know Arup, we're a design consultancy for the built environment, and we do work all over the world, and I coordinate some of the global effort on digital and innovation. Some buildings you may know, the Sydney Opera House, the Beaubourg Centre in Paris, but also the Cheese Grater in London, you may know more close to home. But I'll talk about lots of things, but one thing I really want you to take away from this presentation is the power of vision. Again, building what Gary and Emily said about the power of vision to transform. I was really inspired. I met a mathematician and data scientist from Norway. So Sylvia Ceres was working in Silicon Valley in the mid-90s. She was working on Alta Vista, the search engine I'm old enough to remember. You may be as well. But Alta Vista was, again, one of the AI early innovators for search engines. And she had some mates she was talking to about their vision and their ability of their vision to change the world. And they'd tried to get investment from DEC. They'd been turned down twice by Digital Corporation. And they got some funding from their professor, and they went on to form Google. And the rest, of course, is history. So they kept their vision. They crystallized it, they had it, they committed to that vision and delivered it. So throughout this, I would like you to think about that piece of vision and what it means for us. So into the first part of my presentation, embracing technology for designing and building in our environment. So going back 20 years, this is a small showcase. But using technology, we could deliver this in 6.5 weeks, from the client walking in to Tony Blair opening it. That tells you how old it is. But anyway, 6.5 weeks, and the technology made that possible, made that happen. And it then became a traveling exhibition for the owners, BP, who then looked forward to being beyond petroleum, not British Petroleum at the time. So some other buildings, this, the Dundee V&A, opening in September, Kenzo Kuma, the architect, and a really brilliant piece of design, only possible by our embracing technology in design and construction, joining those things together. These two buildings, this slide, really, I love this slide because the building on the left is the Lloyd's 84 building, and I worked on site on the Lloyd's 84 building. And the boxes you can see there, the only bit of prefabrication on that building, those are the toilet pods that were prefabricated and delivered to site. In the middle of the building, we can see the Cheese Grater, Leadenhall building. That's 85% prefabricated and delivered to site. So the leap forward between the generations of technology, prefabrication, fewer mistakes on site, all that kind of stuff come from technology and are embracing it and using it in our day-to-day lives. And through to the Qatari National Library, again, a brilliant piece of design, OMA, the architects, doing things we couldn't do before, designs we could visualize but not realize. And this is where transformation in digital technology has taken us. But what does vision thing mean? How do we make vision happen in our projects? I actually want to use an example from sustainability, going back a few years now. We all will know when we do Google search, when we finish off our Google search, we've used the same energy as making a cup of tea, boiling a kettle, making the tea, and so forth. And these things, data centers that we embrace, we use as part of our jobs as techno people, are proliferating many megawatts, or hundreds and thousands of megawatts of power being used inside them, and the systems that are used to support them. These data centers, this sort of the cooling, the chilling of our data centers that are otherwise so hot are required to make this happen. So we're involved in a project with Citi, American bank, a few years ago, and the brief was very simple: a really functional, straightforward data center, please. Nice and straightforward, no green brief at all. And this is actually a time when we had the toxic mortgages, all that kind of stuff, and things were not great in the kind of overall environment for banks. And we engaged with the client, and we wanted something that was inherently wholesome, something that had a vision that was right for the business and right to take the client forward. So we looked at how these data centers process what they do. Data in, data out, that's fine. But in between, it's all the processing, cooling, how you can virtualize the servers, all sorts of things, to drive forward a vision for this building that was more than just a data center, please. And the client sort of wanted to engage with the idea of energy and energy consumption. And at the time, we did this quick workout, and it's well in excess of that at the moment, but it's thinking about how much they use and sustainable metrics. We were told at the time that you couldn't get a LEED LEED Gold or Platinum building. It couldn't be done. It was impossible. So of course, red rag to a bull. We thought, well, we've got to engage with that and give it a go, and engage with the client to persuade them and engage them in that topic. And the client, John Killey, had decided that if we were going to do it, let's do it properly. Let's grab this thing, a vision, and make it happen. But of course, a designer, I want to make a warm and humane architecture as well. So something that's good for people and the planet. Again, this joining up of people, technology, and so forth is something that's becoming a really strong theme of what we do as PropTech companies. So this is the occupation, the space. It's good for people, good daylight, good shading, good sustainability, good for people. But also the building itself, expressing this thing about sustainability, greenness, and so forth. So what did we achieve? Well, the revised brief actually, I think, says a lot about what we achieved. So it was the greenest data center in the world by a margin. The first LEED Platinum data center in the world, partly by virtualizing the servers, partly by building design, but all sorts of things we helped the client to achieve. It was below the original budget, which surprises everyone. And it was delivered fast and saves energy and water and so forth. So a really good outcome by having a vision, driving it through. So are the technologies influencing our buildings? We're receiving tech and understanding it and using it, like using digital design techniques, buildings we couldn't design at all before, now we're designing and implementing. And one project I want to just illustrate that technique. It doesn't look very tech, but it is a timber building. And this building is a 3,000 square meter commercial building. And from the instruction, please go ahead and start designing it, to being completed was 11 months. Now, if you had any house extensions, that's the time it takes to extend a house normally. But this is an entire building from scratch, only possible by immersive digital design. The frame was interaction between us and the manufacturer. We designed it. They converted the model, they machined it, they made it, they built it on site really quickly. And the frame and the cladding and everything was pre-manufactured and delivered to site and delivered exceptionally fast. It's about half a program of any comparable building. So technology builds us quality and speed. That speed thing for many clients is a really important characteristic. And the finished building, it doesn't look fast. It doesn't look actually particularly timbery. But it is a fully timber building, fully timber cladding, but machine-made using a traditional material. Very low carbon, so of course being timber. And again, this is for the client, this is a big win. We did not choose this project for its eco or carbon credentials. We selected this method for speed, for our clients' benefit, to get it on site, on time, and opened in the 11-month program. So also, all of us and our buildings have a relationship with technology. We occupy cities, and I won't go into the usual thing about we have billions of people in cities. We know that, and these cities are part of the human experience and the human interface. So how do we think about that when we're living in cities that become polluted, become dirty and difficult to live in? So this is a project in King's Cross, one of the Arup projects in King's Cross, to look at the breathability of the urban environment. So sensors, recording, transmitting to people, communicating to people about the built environment, this interface of people and buildings and streets and so forth, to engage people in the impacts of living in cities, building cities in the way we do today. And can we change that? Can we move forward from this piece of engagement with the public by developers and designers into something that can change how we occupy cities? And our master plans, this is actually a Sky project in Osterley in West London, connecting buildings together. So we end up with the smart campus and the real estate business being able to use several buildings to learn, to influence, to build from. Some of our clients have 30 plus, 40, 50 buildings in their real estate catalogue. How can we join those together to make a more compelling sort of composite or understanding for digital and influence how we run those estates? But it is about people. And this thing about the AI aspects of machine learning that we're building into our processes, but it's also about people and our ability to engage, learn, and influence how we do things. This piece of work with British Land was talking about engagement and smart buildings and the future smart buildings for their real estate portfolio. Not only buildings, but every building they occupy, they build, they create, they develop. Applications. So I want to talk about White Collar Factory. This project, multi-award-winning building, really a commercial building on Old Street Roundabout, has multiple features, and it's built for people, using technology for people. Again, this interface, you can see there you have windows open with handles. It's technology people understand. We've done buildings with little green lights saying open your window. People ignore them. They don't ignore a handle. They know what a handle means. So this signals to people when it can be naturally ventilated or when the air's too dirty or outside it's too hot to open the window. It says don't open the window. But the whole issue of this building is the interface between the people that occupy the tenants and the building. It's a tenanted building, and every floor, the tenants have opted to use the windows for natural ventilation. It's really interesting how we've moved on from, oh, let's just air condition and be done, to actually engaging with the built environment. People want to be engaged. They want to be connected to their buildings. So taking that theme into the systems that control the building, that influence the building, we join it all up. We connect them together so people can have an interface to the buildings, and the buildings start talking to people. Apps that allow them to communicate. Again, this is not new technology, but it's interesting that people are now using it. This thing that was being talked about engagement, people now being ready to engage with that topic of engaging with their building. It's happening, and people want that experience now. And yet, still a humane space. Great space to work in, great place. So technology, architecture, and engineering all coming together to create spaces people love, but also are informed by and can communicate with and feel part of. Smart buildings, of course. Now that's, this is the S word. But we're really working with clients to realize this, make it happen for their buildings and their portfolios. So of course, the Internet of Things, connected elements and so forth. In an industry that usually says, I want a BMS system, I want a lighting control system, and procurement means there's risk when you do things like Internet of Things. So we need to broaden our skills, become better. This is a map of what I do. I'm a building services engineer, so I used to do the stuff in the red on the bottom left, then expanding across technology and then into people. So my job has got more and more complex and sophisticated. It's not just about putting in heating and cooling and so forth. It's about the creating of an environment for people to really engage and have a presence in their building, and the building a presence in their existence, how they operate their lives, how they live their lives, and work in our buildings. So we're moving from, on the left, a series of individual systems, traditional procurement. And again, we're working on buildings that still have this specified today. It's very, very common. We can join them up in the middle to have a more sort of, an integrated experience. And that gateway at the top can feed out to, Internet of Things stuff. But the real connected story on the far right is where all the objects are intercommunicating networks and so forth. And that transition from traditional procurement to a new way of working for a very traditional industry is really tough. And so leadership is required in that space. Vision and leadership is required in that space to make this happen so we can engage more readily with our buildings. And of course, the inevitable, we have lots of chips everywhere now. And the integration of these systems for tenants, for users and so forth. So this is showing how we can join together systems and use the internet then to share and to connect with tenants and to get that relationship between building user and the building infrastructure itself and all the different systems that exist. Even if those systems are already there and exist, as in this case, we can integrate them and then get connectivity into those systems by using various gateways and the internet and so forth. So people engaging with building and building engaging with people. So machine learning and also unsupervised machine learning, really interesting topic. We're experimenting with this at the moment and using some of our collaborators, working with our collaborators to see how this can help and improve. The issue, of course, it's a very complicated world, and we do have to think very carefully of the specifics that we want to automate, to have machines learning about, because it's a very, very narrow thing they do. They don't do broad, they don't do that cognitive, they do patterning, they do pattern recognition, and they can extend from that point. But really, it's trying to simplify a very complex world. So at the V&A, we did some work with machine learning for environmental control, where the machine learns the patterns of occupation, the patterns of temperature, people coming in, people going out. So the machine is learning, and then it can predict or anticipate what happens next. And we really see this as the machine learning for building control and building systems. We're going to be designing for this. The machine takes on the control. They anticipate, they can predict better. They look forward, not just to the past. They build a pattern of thousands and thousands and thousands of data points to then extend to the future. So, but in very specific ways, we're seeing that expanding. And then, of course, smart cities. So the built environment, when we glue things together, become cities, and it's becoming more common. We have data available for transport, for all sorts of things already flooding in cities that are becoming smarter. But each region is different, each city is different, and the needs of the people and the infrastructure is different for each topology. In this field, this chap, the late Mark Weiner, he's absolute genius. He, in 1988, he coined this issue of the three waves of computing. First of all, the supercomputer, the DEC. I worked on a DEC 10 when I was an undergrad, so the company had a DEC 10. We all logged into this one machine. There was many people on machine. And then the second wave is we have a machine each. We kind of look at it and go, oh, what's a bit tricky, isn't it? But the third wave is when we have many, many computers that we all relate to. And this chap predicted this. And I like in the back, he did, which is very impressive. So again, it's thinking about uncertainty, and he essentially predicted ubiquitous computing, a phrase we use now. He coined this in 1988, where computing is everywhere. But the next phrase actually is more interesting, I think. It's calm technology. It's in the background, it fades, it's all there, it's happening. And his thesis was this was starting to happen in 1988. Well, I think it's really only happening in the last few years, so a visionary ahead of his time. But calm technology that is ubiquitous, always there, and informing us of our built environment and connecting us to our built environment, really, really important. So we use it to bridge the performance gap between buildings. We predict performance. They don't quite work that way. So can we improve that performance gap? Can we understand both ends, the prediction and the reality, and make things better to predict and better to operate? So the predictive AI stuff, and also performing better, connecting buildings, making them perform as we expect them to do, and not how they happen to fall out at the end of a year. The people bit, well-being, connecting with people for the well-being components, really, really strong element of how people can participate and engage in these processes. Once we're enabled, we can then engage, we can participate, and we can make things greener and so forth. So we've worked with clients to look at indoor environmental control, flooding with sensors, picking up air quality, noise. The noise is a really big aspect for people, and then how we convert that into a learning process to get a better built environment for people. Again, this cheap sensors, cheap networks enable us to do really powerful things with our data, so we can make things better for people. Again, this is a kind of priority for our clients and for those us designers of the built environment. So we do a lot of environmental monitoring, and we're more and more working in spaces like this. And this demands a data enablement. It requires information shared about who's where, what's going on. So as we are employed in the commercial space to deliver more and more buildings like this, they be more and more smart and clever. So it actually puts push and pull. We are enthusiasts of property technology because we're here, but our clients are saying, well, how can I do this? How can I engage? And it's, I think I said earlier, there's two parts, the enthusiasts and the slight laggers. So, okay, I think all in this room will have a vision of what you want to do and how you want to move it forward. So for me, really, it's discovering this art of the possible, thinking back to the example of data center. What's the art of the possible? Don't think that it can't be done because someone says it can't be done. It probably can. We need that eureka moment, that time that says, we've got it, this is it. Let's push forward, let's convince everyone and move forward. And really build a kind of tour de force behind our innovation, our idea, our vision. How can we push this forward and make it happen? And win those hearts and minds of people we need to, mainly investors, but hearts and minds of people who are really going to be engaged in this process and need to make it happen with us. And really, the confidence in ourselves to push this into a market, to change those hearts and minds and make it happen. And if we do, we can realize exceptional buildings in the built environment and exceptional cities. So on that note, I'd like to thank you very much for listening.
Thank you so much for that. That was brilliant. I think people are just shy on Slido. That must be what's happened. So it's www.slido.com, and the password is PropTech 2018. But I have a question, if that's okay. We've talked quite a bit around the real estate sector's fear of failure and how actually failure is quite important when it comes to innovation. Do you agree with that? And how can the real estate sector get better at failure?
Ooh, better at failure. Interesting. It really plays out in all the examples I was giving where we have systems that are subdivided, you can procure them the way we did yesterday. Doing it the way we want to do tomorrow is a big leap. And it's gathering, well, I think when clients and the people who are responsible for that risk, mainly people who are spending the money on the systems, the builders and so forth, when they're engaged and they can see which bits are genuinely experimental and which bits are genuinely just same as before, as long as that's an incremental change, they can accept that. And we're very lucky our clients can take on some of that risk and say, we'll work with you to make it happen. So I think it's managing that, the element and proportion of risk for our clients in a way they will tolerate. But it's true. So some are so, I don't know, if I'm going to fail, I'm going to lose my job or I'll be sacked or whatever. And there's still this little bit of, because it's such a fragmented industry and lots of people contributing lots of things, it's hard to then get the whole, get the confidence of the whole. But doing it incrementally, piece by piece, I think we can get there.
Great, thank you very much. I'm going to do something really crazy and just check and see whether there are any questions from the audience. I'm shocked. Okay, thank you so much, Michael, for joining us. If you could go off in that direction, hand back your microphone, that'd be great. Can I ask everyone joining me in thanking Michael for that? Thank you.